Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's My Games Recruitment Show, where, as you can see, we're going to be talking about a scalability mindset and why, as a leader, you need this in order to grow your business. Now, I'm obviously joined by the magnificent Mike Ames. How you doing, Big Mike?
If I was any better, I'd be twins. If I was a box
Yeah.
of chocolates, I'd eat myself. I don't know what else I can say.
I wish I could go back in time and remove that analogy from my brain, but I can't, unfortunately. So let's swiftly move on. So, Mike, scalability mindset. Can you just kind of give us a little overview of what you mean by that?
I know we're going to cover quite a bit today. This is kind of a commando raid, on this. But if you're going to do anything, the mindset that you have is going to have a massive influence on the outcome. Whether it's trying to lose weight and get fit, and I know about that, or whether it's trying to scale your business up, move it to a new place, it doesn't make any difference. Your headspace, where you're at, and the way in which you approach things. And when I say mindset, it's the way you approach things and the way you do things and think about things and react to things makes a huge difference. And what I see in a lot of recruitment companies is that even quite big ones are run effectively by recruiters, even if they don't recruit anymore actively. Mindset is still a recruitment mindset. And the first thing that I do with my private clients is to change them from having a recruiter mindset to having a scalability mindset, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Okay. Now, as you mentioned there, Mike, there are 7 things we're going to go through today. And previously, if I remember correctly, you've actually done like half-day seminars on these 7 things, haven't you?
Yeah, pre-COVID, sure.
Yeah. So this is going to be, as you say, a commando raid or like an awareness campaign, would you say, of these? But, as we go through, guys, if you do have any questions, feel free to ask us. It might mean that we do a show just specifically on that. So feel free to get involved as we go through. But Mike, first thing that's the first banner I have to bring up is this. The ring that binds them all.
It's a bit Lord of the Rings, isn't it,
Very
really?
excited about this one.
I was trying to think of something that kind of bound everything together, and it's that. Your headspace has got to be more strategic than tactical. I mean, essentially, that's it, really. And everything that we're going to talk about now is much more strategic than it is tactical. And that's the first shift, to be less transactional, more relationship. More about the longer term, less about the immediate term. That's kind of the thing that sits behind everything that we're going to talk about today.
And as you say, I think that's the biggest step from going from a recruiter who owns a recruitment company to being a manager who owns a recruitment company who once did recruitment.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there are lots of recruiters that run recruitment businesses, but you've got to be a business owner first and foremost, a business person, businessman, businesswoman who just happens to do recruitment. Changes everything.
So let's leap in with the first point here, which is patient and a long running horizon. What do you mean?
Okay, so all right, so and technically they're 2 characteristics,
I was
but
going to say, I kind of feel that you've
because they're connected, right? So one of the things that a recruiter has is an inherent impatience, and it's a good thing, because if you are patient or sit around, chewing the fat a little bit, you snooze, you lose. Somebody else will nip in and get that vacancy or find that candidate. So to be impatient and crack on, as we used to say back in the day, din din, do it now, din din, din din, right? It's a good thing. Come on, let's crack on, let's do this thing. But from a leadership perspective, it isn't. Because what impatience does is it makes you make the wrong decisions because you want everything to happen now. And I always know when I start to work with somebody, really on the first session, and sometimes the first session is the last session, I can gauge how well that project is going to go by that person's willingness to be patient. Because, well, as you know, we've got a breakthrough program, which is an 18-month program, which creates a scalable business. 18 months. And I often get people very keen on the output from that, which is a scalable business, very keen on the 7 pillars that we talked about many times, not keen on the 18 months, just want it like now. And it's like, well, you might want it now, but it's going to take that long because you've got a business to run. So this idea of patience and planning into the longer term. Did you know that some companies in Japan have a 30-year business plan?
Yeah, I did.
So the people building it now won't see it to fruition. They'll probably be dead or at least retired, but they don't care because they know longevity, a long planning cycle, is crucial for a successful business. And really,
the thing as well, there's an element of sacrifice. If you look, the graph that we've put up of you in the SK days, it plateaued when you were kind of doing this. They had a moment of planning where you had to sort of sacrifice growth for a year or 2 years. And then because of that, I'm doing this the wrong way around. Because of that, it then went whoof up here or whatever.
Yeah.
There you go. So there is an element of you do have to do a little bit of a sacrifice now for a big win later on, isn't it?
But you're right. You're absolutely right. It's a mentality, though. I don't have to have everything now, which is the exact opposite to what you are when you're a recruiter. This is going to take 5 years. We have this 3, 7, and 15-year rule. So it takes 3 years to establish a viable business, really, get some money in, get some clients set up, get the thing done. It takes another 4 years, so 7 years from when you started, to create a fully scalable business. And then another 7 years, or 8 years, after that, to make it 15 years to make yourself rich. A lot of people, you say, oh, no, I want to be in and out in 5 years. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Because, well, you can do it, but whether you'll come out of it with enough money to last the rest of your days, I doubt it very much. But having that patience to think, 15 years, that's what it is, 3, 4, and 7, or 3, 4, and 8. And that's going to give me what I want. So it's this longer term planning, 2 to 3 years planning. And I don't just mean targets. I want this turnover and that's headcount or anything. I mean, these are the changes that I need to make to my business. And it's going to take time to think those through and plan them and make them happen. But when I've done it, I'm then going to have a business which is exactly where I want it.
And I think that leads really nicely onto this second one, because, being highly focused, because, if you compress everything, you'd be doing all of those projects at the same time. That's a lot of plates to keep spinning. Odds are something's going to drop, whether that is the plates themselves, the projects, whether that's your client care, whether that's your business development or something. Whereas when you're spreading it out, having a longer term plan and accepting that means that you can focus on something, get it across the line and keep it there.
Yeah, it's true. Do you remember, I've told this story before, I think, maybe not on this show, but I've used it before. Bill Gates was having lunch with Warren Buffett and Bill Gates' dad were there. And Bill Gates' dad said, oh, this is unusual, isn't it? Somebody having lunch with the 2 richest men in the world. Can I ask you one question? What is it, do you think, that made you so successful? And he said, write it on this little bit of paper and show it at the same time. And they did. And Bill Gates and Warren Buffett had written the same word, and that word was focus. And one of my favorite clips, which I'm going to get Kirsty to put in the comments, please watch it. It's 90 seconds. And it's Johnny Ive talking about his relationship with Steve Jobs. Johnny Ive designed the iPhone that you probably have in your pocket. And he's talking about what made Steve. 90 seconds, just check that out, because it's all about focus. And when we focus, we can take it to the next level. So let me be very clear. Focus is a nebulous word. A lot of people focus with their ego. It's sad to say that, but it's true. So their focus is around, turnover, headcount, number of offices, even down to the number of services that they offer. We can do this, we can do that, we can do the other. There is only 3 things that I think that you should focus on. And I talk about this all the time: profit, value, and safety. Profit is where it's at. It's not very visible. People don't really know how much money you make, but you do. Profit is everything, because with profit, you can either take it out and spend it on yourself. You can take it out and you can invest it in your retirement fund, or you can reinvest it back into the business. Gives you choice. Value is ultimately what you're trying to build, either inherently in your business so you can sell it one day, or externally in your own personal investment fund, which means that you've got enough dough to go. And safety is the overlooked one. You can build businesses that have got profit and value coming out their ears, but if they're not safe, as we found in 2020, then the whole thing can unravel.
Yeah.
Right. So if you focus on those 3 things, focus on profit, focus on value, focus on safety, and anything you want to do, ask yourself, is this going to make us more profitable, more valuable, or safer? Because if it is, then I'll do it. And if it isn't, probably not. And avoid those shiny, bauble-y, ego-driven things.
But they're so much fun, and they make us feel so good. Those shiny things.
I know, but ultimately it will catch you out. It's just not good. And we know there's one company, I reckon everybody would know. I won't even tell you their turnover, but it's very, very big, really big, bigger than any company I've ever owned. They make probably less money than you do. And you could be like a 3-person organization. It ain't about that. It's about the profit. Build a business which is profitable. Tell you one more thing before we move on from this. We often ask ourselves the question, can we do that? Could we do this? Could we open a new office in Singapore? Could we start offering this service? That is not the right question. The right question is, should we? And there's no sense moving to anything new, a new territory, a new set of services, unless you've effectively drained the ones that you have now. So if you are selling to a sector and you think it's saturated, well, you better think about moving to another sector. If you've added all you can in terms of the services and you think that you can improve your profitability by offering a service that sits by it, you can sell it to existing clients, well, fine. But don't just do it because you feel like it, because it would be cool to say, yeah, we do that as well. It's not good. It doesn't help with the profit. It doesn't help with the value, and it sure as hell doesn't help with the safety.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we talked about being focused. So the next point that you've got is being open, inquisitive, and experimental. Now, is this as a business or as an individual, as in like you?
As a leader. Yeah, as a leader. Right. I mean, what you are as the leader of your business reflects. These reflect into your business. So your business becomes open, inquisitive, and experimental if you are. But there's this, sometimes if you've been brought up in a certain way and you've been given a set of values, or you do things in a certain way, so they're inherent to you now, they're kind of a part of you, it's difficult to move outside of that. It's called your comfort zone, really. And no, we don't want to move outside of our comfort zone. We say we do. We talk about it a lot, but then when the actual decision has to be made to step outside, we don't do it. So what this means, and I do see it a lot in some of the group work that we do when we run our webinars and seminars and things, is people talk about openness. You know, it's, yeah, I'm open to anything. And then when you present it, oh, it wouldn't work for me. So that's not really very open, is it really? That's a bit judgmental, really. It works for other people. I don't see why it shouldn't work for you. And the same for inquisitive, a desire, deep desire to know things. People watching this show right now are here because you're inquisitive. You read the blurb for it and thought, that's interesting. Oh, I'd like to know a little bit more about that. Tick in that box, 100%. Obviously, if everything I'm saying to you, you're thinking of reasons why you shouldn't do it, then perhaps not as open as you could be. But if you're thinking, yeah, I'd like to think about that, that's interesting, I might like to explore that a little bit more, then you're open. But the big thing for me is the last of those. Experimental. Give it a go. Give it a go. What's the worst that can happen? How hard can it be? Give it a go. Learn through experimentation, not just by listening to other people or watching videos or going on courses or reading books. And if you have that nature, that's a leadership nature. You can give me anything. Okay, and I will inquire as to what it's about, and I'll think about it, and I'll get to know more about it, and then I'll just give it a go, see what happens. And I think, having been through this period of thinking I knew it all, I know it's amazing, isn't it? Mike Ames thinks he knows it all. What are the odds of that? But thinking that I knew it all, and being very blinkered on what I did because I believe that was right. Going through that transition of realizing I knew next to nothing, and there was a whole world out there of stuff that I could absorb and bring into my world and make myself better. It's kind of a tough transition to make, but my God, when you get to the other side of it, I mean, we're only doing this now, this flare thing now, because of that.
Yeah, I think as well with this one, it is something that can be learned, because this is, if you remember my appraisal, 2 years ago, sort of, this was a big thing that you wanted me to work on, and I've been working really hard on it, because inherently I'm a skeptic, which means I suffer from quite bad anxiety. So for me, this is like a worst nightmare. But the more you do it, the easier it gets, because you see results that work, but also you see failure isn't that bad because you learn something from it. It may not be the lesson that you originally planned on doing, but it's never been catastrophic. And there is an element of, don't be so experimental that you put all of your money in Bitcoin and pray for the best. That's not, there is an inherent level of risk mitigation here. But every time I've done this here, every time I've been open, inquisitive and experimental, I've grown as a person and the business has grown. So it's a bit scary to begin with, but it does get easier anyway.
Well, yeah, you brought up something really interesting there. As an employee, sometimes we don't want to do things. Well, sometimes we don't want to do things because it affects our ego if we fail. And we don't want to fail. That's not good, because we're brilliant. If we fail, then obviously we're not brilliant. And that's a personal demon you've got to kind of sort out for yourself. But as a manager, as people watching the show are managers or leaders, then encouraging people to experiment and fail is the way in which you get them to be that way. If people don't feel they can fail because you're going to shout at them, or not even shout at them really, be a bit disapproving of them or a bit suspicious, or, your card is marked, matey. Well, that's not a good. I think you should celebrate failure, really, is what I think. I think to celebrate failure, but actually celebrate failure in terms of the things that you learned from that failure and how you've improved and got better. Because that encouraging that kind of mentality and that environment, people do great things, awesome things, as soon as they lose the fear of failure. And it's your job to start that process off, really.
All right. Okay. So let's move on to the next one there, Mike, which is to make your core mission the priority. Now, you have mentioned this probably at least once a month on our shows. This is something that it spans pretty much everything that you believe in, that your core mission is the priority always.
Okay. Let me just, if I can, just clarify what core mission means for those people that perhaps this is the first time they've come to the show. As the owner of a business, you might have a mission statement which says you want to be the best provider of staff in the so-and-so area or whatever sector. So, it's kind of a desire that you want to share with the staff, get the staff behind it, and externally to people. That's great. I think you should have that. We talk about it a lot. However, the core mission is you. It's about you as the owner. And too many owners forget themselves. They don't put themselves first. They don't remember why they're doing this whole bloody business thing. Right, and the reason they're doing it is three main reasons, with the potential of a fourth one. The first main reason is to build a lifestyle for themselves and their families, which is an attractive lifestyle. And that comes down to free time and disposable cash. So you've got the money to do what you want to do, and you've got the time to do it, and to be with your family and properly be with them. You know that thing sometimes where you would remember this perhaps from the 90s, Kirsty, where I was with you, but my head wasn't.
Yeah.
The head's back in Birmingham.
Like weekends, holidays, not so much, but weekends.
Well, yeah. I can tell you some holidays as well in the early days, but when you're with them, you're with them. You haven't got your mobile phone, you haven't got your laptop. I'm with you. I'm actually with you now entirely, which your family love. You might not know it, but I'm telling you now, they absolutely adore that. So that's the first thing, lifestyle. The second thing is about freedom. So when you go to work, you've got the freedom to do what you're good at, what you enjoy, and what has the biggest impact on your business. We had someone on talk about $10 tasks, $100 tasks, $1,000 tasks. It's just the $1,000 tasks. That's all you've got left. You've got rid of all the others, because that means A, you're not working all the time, physical hours, and B, when you are going there, it's great fun and you're nailing it. You're actually having an effect on the business. And so that's the second core reason within your mission. The third one is wealth. To have enough money at some point to say, I'm out of here. I've had enough. I'm leaving now, or I'm taking a backward step. And if the wheels do come off, I don't care, because I'm rich enough. Now, you can do that through a sale, but as we know, only a small percentage of recruitment companies end in the sale. We know that.
Good to rely on it.
Very tiny. But you can do it from a cash cow lifestyle business. If you're obsessed with profit, you just take the profit out and invest it, and eventually you're suddenly rich enough. Why wouldn't you? So those are the three main ones. The fourth one, for some people, about 20%-ish, they want to leave a legacy. It's fine. If you don't, it's no big deal. If you do, it's equally no big deal. But I do think that is your core mission. It's your job to put yourself first to achieve those things. That's the purpose of the business. Okay, so you know what they are, and you make sure that you damn well move closer to ticking those three boxes for you and your family and your well-being and your health and your mental health as soon as you can. Do not forget it. It's very easy to put yourself second all of the time. Not good.
Okay, all right. So let's move on to this one, because I think it's linked, and you sort of mentioned it around a personal aspect, but you mean this in the business thing, be guilt-free when not working in the business. So can you explain to us what working in the business means and what other things you would be doing?
Well, there's in, on, and out. Okay, so in the business is on the tools, doing the stuff. You're in there, and if you're a recruiter, you're doing the recruitment. If you've got a blended job where you're doing some recruitment and some management, well, you're doing management and recruitment. You're coaching people, you're helping people. It's on the tools, basically, working in your business. That's the deal. And when you start a business, it's pretty much 99% in the business. As the business gets more and more mature, you should be working in the business less and on the business more. And on the business means strategizing and planning and executing on that plan, that change plan to change the business. Learning, we talk about being inquisitive, learning, going on courses, meeting interesting people, listening, asking questions. All of that is working on the business. And there's a saying that we have, it's an aphorism. The more that you work on the business today, the less you'll have to work in the business tomorrow. A lot of people feel guilty when they're not on the tools. It's like that strategies, well, it's all airy-fairy stuff. Oh, well, I'm in there doing the business, I'm getting clients and I'm placing people. Well, yeah, when you start off, but man, you got to get away from that. Because if you're one of those cats that just spends all their time in the business, that's where you'll stay. That's where you'll get locked into. And it's a bugger to move out of that. And when you do, you start to feel guilty. Well, knock it off. Knock it off right now. Your job is to lead. And to lead, you have to have a strategy. You have to have a plan. You have to invest and experiment and think. And all of those carries time with it. It's necessary. The last part of this is out of the business, in, on, and out. And that comes back to what we were saying earlier with lifestyle. If you want to take time out of the business for yourself or your family, that's okay. It's your business. It's there to give you that free time. So stop feeling guilty about it. I know that's easy to say. It's just like saying stop feeling depressed, isn't it? I mean, I get it.
Stop having anxiety, Kirsty.
Don't be anxious, Kirsty. You've got me as your dad. What could possibly go wrong? Anyway, so, but this is the starting point. This is about thinking. Don't. It's there for you. Deal with it. Get over it. And one way or another, take coaching, take whatever you need to take help, but get into that space where you take time out and you're out, and it's cool. Tell you one thing I would do. It's not my my top tip, but I'll give you this. Right, book one Friday off a month for yourself. Just do it. Just do it. One Friday a month. It's yours. No phone, no email, just be you. Just do it and see what happens. What's the worst that could happen? I'll tell you what won't happen. Your profits won't drop. Might even go up. Who knows?
Okay, so we've given some very helpful advice on just not being guilty. But now this one is, I think, something that's become even more relevant because of COVID, because of working from home. But managing by data and not proximity. What do you mean, Mike?
Okay, so managing by proximity simply means that you manage because you can see people. You can be with them and see what they're doing and talk to them and listen to them and help them and all the rest of it. And it's when you're a small business, it's by far and away the most efficient and effective way to manage. Because it's instant, it's an immediate thing. You can see your empire there. You can see what people are doing. As you get bigger, it becomes more and more difficult to do that, obviously. And I think that when you make the transition, and this is a leadership thing, we always used to say you should be able to manage your business from Acapulco. I've since found out Acapulco is not where you want to go, right? Because it's a dreadful place. But in the 60s, it used to be where the jet set went. Anyway. So, but what I'm talking about is you've got all your financial data, of course you have, right? Then you need your performance data to see what the heck's going on, your efficiency data, your quality data. You'll be able to understand exactly how your business is working just by looking at dashboards. Okay, once you can do that, dashboards to give you output, they're called OKRs, objectives or key results. Dashboards to give you activity KPIs, which tell you why something happened or didn't happen, diagnosis. So if you gradually build, and it does take some time, I always say 4 years, and kind of does really, but if you build your dashboards so that you can manage through them, they're the things that trigger the one-to-ones and the meetings that you have and the decisions that you make. If you can do that, then you can grow your business as big as you like, because it's just by data. Proximity is limited to about 7 or 8 people.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then the last point that we've got, Mike, number 7, is in management, there's no such thing as a team. Now, this one, when I read it, really surprised me because you regularly talk about the importance of having a team, and the team built your business. So what exactly do you mean when you say there's no such thing as a team?
Well, clearly there is a team. There's the thing. There's a group of people that is your team. But in management, there's only individuals. Okay, so right. So when you hire people, you're not hiring more team members. You're hiring individuals, and those individuals have got strengths and weaknesses. They've got desires. They've got fears. They've got a whole bunch of things going on. And what you need to do, this is a leadership mentality. I've saved this one to last because it's my favorite. What you need to do is each individual, you need to understand what their aspirations and challenges are. You need to understand what their strengths and weaknesses are, because they may have strengths that you're not making the most of. They may have weaknesses which are preventing them from doing the job that you want them to do. But maybe you could recut things so they don't need to do that anymore. But this massive strength that they've got is now leveraged. So we always say there are strengths and weaknesses. You should maximize someone's strengths. You should compensate for someone's weaknesses if you can't cure them through training and coaching and support, because that way you'll end up with a happier and more productive workforce doing exactly what they're best at. In a way, it's what I'm saying to you. You've got the freedom to do the things you like, the things you're good at, and the things that have the biggest impact. Well, why wouldn't you give that same privilege to the people that work for you? Now, 360s, a little bit of a thing on 360s, it's hard because 360s is everything. And if you can't do one of them, usually it's BD, you're in trouble. Get rid of people because they can't do one thing, but they do everything else perfectly well. Well, you need to think that through a little bit there, because it's really hard to get good people. And I think if you treat them as people and not the team, you'll then begin to see that you can help them help you, to help them to be productive, and that means profitable, by the way, productive and a real valuable part of the team, but not doing the stuff they're not very good at. To me, it's a no-brainer.
Keep them happy so they don't leave. We've spoken numerous times about how if someone leaves your team, the disruption, the money, the less ability to have your business be scalable is. Yeah. And if you're managing people the way that they want to be managed, and you're giving them jobs in their role that they want to do, and not only that, but they excel at, and they want to improve in and become a master of, they're going to be happier, they're going to stay, and then your team dynamic is more stable as well. So it's sort of it works for them and works for you.
What they say, hire for show, retain for dough. And it's if you retain the team and keep a team together, suddenly what happens, it clicks and suddenly it becomes massively profitable. It's like a bizarre thing, really. But if you're chopping and changing people, moving people in and out, you never reach that stage. You never plane. You never catch the wave. You're constantly swimming against it. So that was just a cornucopia of metaphors there, wasn't it? A buffet.
It's beautiful, in some might say. Okay, Mike, so we've come to the end of the 7. Now, in a second, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to ask you what your top tip is, because we've discussed, as we discussed, it was a very flyby visit to each of those that we spoke about. So I'm going to have to come to you, but focus. But before then, next week, we are back. It's just the dream team back. It's just you and me back. And we're talking about pipelines. Because it doesn't sound like the sexiest thing, Mike. I'm not going to lie to you.
Well, funnily enough, I'm in a couple of LinkedIn groups with recruiters, and people are asking a lot about it. And I think we kind of know what pipeline means, but there are 2 types of pipeline, weirdly, not just one. There are 2. You need both of them, and I'm going to talk to you about those 2 pipelines. I'm going to teach you how you can actually keep them well stocked up, and how you can get people through the pipeline to where the dough is, to where the money is. And I think that if people are intuitive, they kind of know how to do it, but they're not necessarily have a structure that sits behind you. And that's what I'm going to give you next week. It's going to be great.
All right, fantastic. So before we go to your top tip, we have had a comment from a man who knows people, and that is the great Barry Hoffman, who said the best advice for managing your team is know me, care for me, and focus on me. That's all people. Focus me, and that's all people really want.
There speaks a man, Barry Hoffman, who I would class as top 1% leadership right there. Yeah. So
this man is someone to be listened to. So I like that. Yeah. Know me, care for me, focus me.
Can we steal that and pretend that was ours?
I think we can. There's no proof. There's no proof, Michael. It's gone.
Can you edit that out? What Barry put in? Can you edit that out?
What, who put in?
Can you edit that out? Dig it. Yeah. Loving it. Yeah.
Okay, Mike. So we've come to that point in the show where, as always, we've discussed a couple of things today. for you, what's the top tip? What's the one thing that somebody should go away and do that helps them do all of these 7 points that we've spoken about?
Okay, I can't help but think I've said this before, but it's so important, and it's this, right? Define your core mission. What lifestyle do you want? What freedom do you want at work? And what's your magic number? How much do you need? Get it written down. Write it down. Define it, because that's the first step. You suddenly realize that you do have to change. You have to become a leader so that other people will do that for you, not you. And that's really what leadership is about. I've got a saying which I use all the time: know me, care for me, focus me. And yeah. It's one of my sayings. It's what I say all the time.
Magnificent, that is. You've broken me a little bit. I'm sorry.
I'll buy you lunch, Barry, for that stuff.
Okay.
Try and bring it round. Can I end the show? So thank you very much, everyone, for attending the show. And I'm sorry for Kirsty. She used to be a professional, but it's all gone peak tong now. But look, if you could press the button, and we'll see you next week. It's going to be awesome. Pipelines, baby. Give me some Pipeline City. I'm the mayor. In your own time, Kirst. I can't talk.